we have a tray of paint, a 3/4 inch roller, and an extension handle. And we're getting ready to paint the inside of the closet. So we're gonna do the wall first, get enough paint on the roller, make sure that's got a nice coating on it, and then I'll take that off, and then we'll come back up and do the ceiling. This is the first coat of primer that is going onto the wall. I'm hoping that I only have to put one coat on, but if we need to put another coat on, that's fine. I've got plenty of Kill Z2 primer and sealer there. Well, we got the first coat of primer on all of the exposed drywall inside the closet and outside, and it's looking very nice. You can see it went on pretty nice, and it actually went on very thick, obviously because I'm using a 3/4 inch nap on that roller, and it's also using a lot of primer. Before I get into that though, check it out. Very smooth on the inside. It's looking good. Still got to touch up the corners with another coat with a paintbrush, but we'll get along to that here pretty soon. And you can see some of the blue is shining through the first layer of primer. And that's why I mentioned earlier, we want to use primer on these walls, because if you put a light color over that, that haze of that darker color is going to come through. So what I'm going to do on here, just on that one strip, once this dries, is just put another roll on top of that, and then we should be getting in a pretty good position. Again, when you start putting paint and primer on, you can start to see some of the defects in here. And you can see here, it's really kind of rough, where we tried to fix that earlier. Again, not too worried about this because it's a closet, no one's ever gonna see it. We're gonna have clothes racks and shelving in here, so not too concerned about that. Once we get to the outside though, into the hallway, into the bonus room, we will definitely take a little more care in getting those corners straightened out. So we are going to continue moving along into the blue section of the walls. We'll see how much more we can get done here. And then we'll most likely put a coat of primer on that just to make it consistent and make the paint look consistent all the way through when we get to that finished coat. Just to give you an idea of how much primer we're using, I have probably gone through about a gallon, if not more, of primer so far on just the 120 square feet, 150 square feet of wall that we have in this whole section here. And that's a lot of paint being used on the wall, because on a normal gallon of paint / primer, you can probably get about 400 square feet, which would almost do this entire room. But we use just that on the closet. That's because the drywall, because it's a paper, really soaks that liquid into the surface, and thus makes it a lot heavier when you're putting on a coat of primer using the 3/4 inch nap. So we're gonna just continue. There's no doubt I'm gonna have to buy another one of these for the hallway and bonus room. Let's see if we can look down there. You can see, you can't really see it, but it's probably a third of the way through already. So we'll just continue going. If we need to pick up another one, we will. This is really good stuff. This Kill Z2 all-purpose interior latex primer. So we got this wall primed, and the primer went on a lot better on this wall, covering up most of the blue. I don't know if I'm gonna need to go back through and do a second coat on that. However, I probably will, just to cover the whole thing up. And then we did the same on this side. This one's a little more bluish showing through, but that's okay. We'll go over that with a second coat. All in all, 2.5 hours, 3 hours to do all this, which is pretty good. We're gonna finish that wall, this wall, and the dormer area another time, but we are continuing on our journey, and it's going very well. I'm gonna go through and clean this roller off in the sink downstairs and get all the paint off. That's what you use your 5-in-1 tool for. Maybe I'll do a video on how to use that. It's pretty cool. So we can use it next time. On these rollers, if you buy a good roller, you should be able to use those 8, 9, 10 times before you have to toss them out. So it's a good idea to clean those because they are expensive. You know, $5, $6, $7 a piece. And if you buy in bulk, obviously cheaper. But good idea to clean those out thoroughly, let them dry, and then you can use it for the next application. So that's what we're going to do. We have completed all of the priming in daughter number 1's bedroom, which means we are ready to move on to putting in the first coat of finish paint in this room, which is a huge milestone for this project. You can see it's still kind of glossy there because the paint's still wet. And you can't really tell there's primer on this wall, but there is, because this wall was that light color. Obviously, the first thing you can notice is all that blue that was coming through before on these walls is pretty much gone. And that's where we wanted to be. We've got a couple small spots like these corners where I have to get a brush in to put the finish coat on that, but the brush will take care of that. And you will also notice that in the corners, I went back through and put another coat of primer on those corners to get rid of the brown contaminant stain that was showing through on the caulk. And that worked out very well also. So, and we had that one blue streak there too. I just went over that once with a roller and that worked out well. So, fantastic progress on this. We are going to let this dry overnight because as you can see, it's nighttime again. And we will get back at this in the next day or so. So we're going to clean up in here a little bit and then move on. Also, I mentioned earlier that you can reuse the rollers. If you're using latex paint, you just have to wash them out really well with your 5-in-1 tool. And it takes about 5 or 10 minutes to really get those clean. This is the same one that I used to put the first coat of primer on. I'm not going to reuse that because the primer obviously is different from the paint. And when I started using that, it really matted down the 3/4 inch snap. It almost made it like a 3/8 inch snap or a 1/2 inch snap. Still worked out fine for the walls, but because of the consistency of the primer and what it's made of, we're just gonna ditch that one. And then for the finished coat of paint, we're gonna use a brand new 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch roller for that. So with that being said, we are going to close this one out, move on to number big 40, and give you an update then. So until next time, peace out.